Hello and welcome to the Family Business. I'm Joe Castiglione Jr. alongside Isaac Stoops. Crazy times. It's portal season. I hope you have your Twitter notifications on. I hope you're staying tuned to Soonerscoop.com. Shout out to Donnie Hazelwood and Stoops Bros on the portal thread, because if you want the most up-to-date information, you got to go there. I mean, it's up to like 300 pages in a few days, so it's crazy. I think they already hit 1 million views. Like, it's wild. So, what do you think about the portal, Isaac?
I'm just glad I don't have to be a coach or have to monitor it too much. It's craziness, but I don't know, kind of as expected. The offense is kind of getting a little bit of a makeover. I think it would be a fresh start for everybody. Defense, a few surprises, but you wish everybody the best, and now it's time to have a couple big recruiting weekends and get some guys on with us.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's waiting for a commit right now. I'm like, I don't know if anybody has commits right now.
Nobody's visited, yeah.
Nobody's visited. A couple visits, and our guy George Stoyas, keeping us up to date with the transfer portal intel. But it's really crazy. I mean, Brendan Topsy on the portal today. I don't know who's gonna be playing receiver in the bowl game.
I forgot about the bowl game. Yeah,
Jacob Jordan, 80 yards. That's a lock if you can get that.
I have no eligibility left.
You never know. You can sue the NCAA for eligibility. I've got a couple years left. I think my clock is way out, but I can bring it back.
I'd blow a hammy.
I would blow a hamstring so bad. I would have a quad injury. Yeah. But you know what else is fun? Homefield Apparel. Homefield Apparel is the official apparel sponsor of Soonerscoop.com. You head over to homefieldapparel.com, use code SCOOP, SCOOP. You're going to get 15% off your first order. And you know why that's amazing right now? Because it's holiday season, and it's tracking fast. I cannot believe it's already mid-December right now. So you got to get these goods for your families and friends.
Quarter zip, those are new. Those are really nice. Obviously, everybody loves the Bombers and
the Bombers and the coaches' jackets.
Jacket,
I'm telling you that. The coach's jacket with a hoodie.
With a hoodie, yeah.
That's the look.
The box is good, too. You get it all for one.
Then you get the VIP box and get future releases and future discounts as well. I mean, we've wore a number of shirts on the show right now. A lot of mine are dirty. I have to do laundry right now.
OU basketball's killing it. So, go get you some gear and rock it to the games.
I wore a Top Dog shirt that's on the website right now. It's really cool, like the retro Top Dog right there.
Right there, yeah.
I wore that a couple episodes ago with Coach Porter Moser. They're doing really good, so tune in that episode as well.
Yeah.
But, get some gear to go down to the beautiful Lloyd Noble Center. And so how you would do that is use code SCOOP at homefieldapparel.com, and you're going to get 15% off your first order. Portal season, like I said, is upon us. Who better to talk about it than an actual sitting SEC defensive coach right now? And that's Coach Mike Stoops. Also, of course, your uncle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we need to really say that. But
we had a good one, yeah.
No, but we had a great discussion about NIL, portal, SEC, his relationship with Coach B, the Stoops family. We had a great episode with him. I mean, really appreciate him joining the show. He's been waiting. He's been letting you know.
He's been giving me crap since we had Mark on, but he's a funny guy. Very enjoyable interview. I think you guys will like it.
I think we should have an episode where we have your dad, Coach Mark, and then Coach Mike. Don't tell either of them.
They might all try to talk in at the same time, but
it would be like raise your hand and say, "Hey, we can talk." But we had a great episode with Coach Mike Stoops, and we're going to take you to the episode right now. We now welcome in Coach Mike Stoops to the Family Business. Perfect for the name. Coach, thanks for joining the time, especially considering the time of seasons being, it's Portal Mania. A lot of things are happening. I know you're juggling a lot of things right now.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me, first of all. And, it is. It's really a different time in college football. And certainly the portal has changed quite a bit over the last 2 or 3 years. And there's a lot of madness going on right now and trying to rebuild, your team and guys getting ready. This is the first time we're going to miss a bowl game in 8 or 9 years. So we have a little extra time on our hand to try to rebuild our roster.
No, it's quite the time. Yeah, not only are you trying to rebuild your roster, you're trying to retain your guys. You're trying to evaluate high school guys. I mean, it's crazy. You used to think National Signing Day being in February, it was after the season. Now that's, happened a couple weeks ago or about 10 days ago. It's really crazy. Really crazy time in college football. It's even crazy for the fans, but it's crazier for the coaches. Yeah. Do not envy you one bit right now. Do not envy you one bit. But thanks for coming.
It's just so different than what we're used to, and you got to adapt if you want to stay relevant. And certainly, we thought we had a good roster going into this year, and really, you got to have tremendous depth, or the games you play in this league are just different. And we weren't built for it, and we came up short. So we're probably going to have to, I would say most teams will rebuild 25 to 35% of their roster through the portal.
No kidding. A quick thing on that right now. I mean, this is, of course, Oklahoma's first season in the SEC. We've been a longtime fan of the conference, just watching the competitive football it is. But it really is the closest thing to the NFL. There's no weeks off. I know that's a lot of coach speak, and people say that. But even as a fan watching it, you got 1 week you're playing Alabama, and the next week you got to go play Georgia. Or even this year, you have Vandy after like a Georgia. And Vandy's a really good squad. So just kind of talk to the depth of the league, real fast. And like, is it really the closest thing to the NFL in terms of the depth and the prestige of each team?
Well, you should ask Mr. Stoops over there that used to said the SEC was just like the Big 12. I bet
I didn't say
Brent would beg to differ. That's a little different. This league is different than most, and being a part of it over the last 5 or 6 years, I spent 2 at Alabama and then 3 here. It's just this year I thought it was maybe the best it's ever been. So it's different. I think it's an adjustment period. I think Sark had a little bit of an advantage. Sark spent a lot of time at Alabama, and Brent certainly did too at being at Clemson, because they're a part of a great team, so they know what it takes to compete. But it's the totality that gets you during the season. And I think scheduling matters too. I thought Oklahoma and I thought Kentucky, Georgia had the three. There were 3 of the toughest schedules that had to be played. So I think when you catch people, the scheduling matters, and but there's no easy way around it. I think Kirby and Lane, talked a lot about it. And I think there's a lot to it. And I think scheduling does matter. And I think strength of schedule should matter. And I don't think it did in this. Again, they just go by records. And to me, there has to be a weighted schedule in the teams you play week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean, you beat Ole Miss and then you almost beat Georgia, but you guys kind of had the similar issue this year as us, is just kind of struggled offensively and at the quarterback position, but really good and sound defensively.
It's hard to win one-sided games. You guys know that, and there were a lot of similarities. Oklahoma has changed the culture defensively, and now they struggle scoring points. We had the same thing, and you can't win one-sided games. You have to have a balanced football team across the board, and you have to be able to complement each other. And that was something we weren't able to do. We couldn't hang on defensively. We started to get injuries, and then if you start letting people score a certain amount of points, it puts a lot of pressure on your defense.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when you view it from the outside, you don't view at the point of like these SEC teams, they schedule that out of conference game that's usually in October and November. That's usually against a lower level group of 5 or an FCS team.
It's needed.
But at that point, it's needed. I mean, a lot of teams are trying to get healthy at that point. I'm not saying it's another bye week, but it's just a point of trying to clean some things up and get some players some more experience. I mean, but I completely understand it.
But we still play somebody out of conference. I think I saw. The schedules come out. What is Oklahoma plays? Ohio State or
Michigan
or somebody.
Michigan,
Texas does the same. We play Louisville, our rival. They were 10-1 when we beat them last year. Up at Louisville. So that's you always throw in another game with that. So it's very difficult for everybody.
Yeah,
but conference games are always tougher.
No doubt. How would you say, having been at Alabama and now Kentucky, how would you say Oklahoma, its culture and its program fits into the SEC, like its brand?
Well, I think, we crossed over quite a bit. I talked to Coach Venables a couple times throughout the course of the year, and we had a lot of, we had probably 3 or 4 crossover games, and, you could see defensively, his thumbprint on, what they do. Very solid. And I thought you saw a difference offensively down the stretch with them, a little bit more creative offensively. So, they're on the verge. That's, Bedenbaugh's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. So they had to do some rebuilding, and injuries. They were decimated at the wide receiver, and if you don't have players, these are some of the best defenses these guys probably ever saw. And it's just different, and that's where you're going to struggle. And we had a lot of the same issues.
No, it's hard to convey in a way because like you got one wide receiver injured. Okay, you deal with it. But next thing you know, you look up late in the season, Oklahoma's down their top 6 wide receivers, and you're like, that's hard to overcome if you're playing anybody. Mm-hmm. And I think that's
unheard of.
It really is, and that's why there will be a reform in the college football playoff and the 12 team, and who gets an automatic bid, or even if they expand to 16, there's going to be a reform. But it's just got to be taken into account of the strength of schedule, and not only that, but just understanding what the wear does to your team. I mean, even at Georgia, they dropped a game this year against Ole Miss, or and they got dominated that game. But Ole Miss is not even in the playoff, and people are arguing that Georgia's one of the best teams, and so there's got to be a way to convey that, and for the committee to understand that. Not only is strength of schedule like a metric, but it's really how your team is wearing through the season.
It is interesting
it's
too.
It's the totality of a schedule, and you see that in the NFL. And there's teams that have lost 4 or 5 games throughout the course of the year, and they win the Super Bowl. So how's that any different when you're playing teams that are equal or very close? And they're all very good and well coached. So it is very difficult.
Yeah, we said that SEC is still obviously top dog and most competitive, but would you say that the competitiveness has dispersed a little bit? Like the Big Ten, for instance, they got a lot of good teams this year, and the playoff kind of has there's quite a few SEC teams in there, but there is a lot of different teams from different conferences.
Listen, I'm not going to disparage any team that made it. I think they're all deserving. I think in the teams that didn't make it, probably they could blame themselves for, whether it's Alabama getting beat up by Oklahoma and next to the last game, so they all had their chances. So again, how you equate strength of schedule is always going to be taxing, on the committee. So I don't have a great answer for that. I think you got to use your judgment, your eye test. And try to put the best teams in as you look at them throughout the course of the year, and certainly take in the scheduling.
I don't think the committee has a great answer right now, to be honest with you.
They don't have an answer.
They don't either, and so they're figuring out too. But you mentioned the NFL a little bit. How about bringing a multiple Super Bowl winning future Hall of Fame coach and Coach Belichick down to the college football ranks? I mean, what do you think about Coach Belichick coming back to college football? I mean, now college football is more like NFL, but what do you think that transition's like going from being an NFL coach to now to college?
Well, I think great coaches can coach, and certainly, I think if Bob came out of retirement and wanted to coach, he would be every bit as effective as he was 5-8 years ago. So, he's a great coach. He has a great mind for both offense and defense. I think he'll put together an unbelievable staff. So again, but I still think you have to have players to win at these levels. And that's what it gets down to. It's you can have a great plan, but you got to have people that can go out and execute it, and have the players to be able to execute it at a high level. So, we'll see how it goes, but again, he's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, just on the subject of former Patriots, you coached Gronkowski at Arizona, and Nick Foles. What was it like? I don't know, wrangling. I mean, in today's world of NIL, who knows what that would have looked like? But what was it like? Wrangling those guys up. I know he's a little bit of a meathead.
Well, I tell you what, the best advice I think I ever gave a coach was when Coach Belichick called in and asked me about Gronk, and I said, "Listen, don't get thrown off by his antics or some of his foolishness. When he puts on the pads, he's tremendous and focused and smart and disciplined, and he ended up taking him, I think, in the second round, and kind of the rest is history. So." I saw him when he came to Alabama, and I told him he owed me for that advice. He didn't. He kind of laughed and certainly appreciated it.
Just tell them that you want an NIL deal for if you got any big linebackers recruiting in the portal that Gronk can
shoot him a
help
text,
them.
Gronk. Yeah,
Exactly. Boost you up a little bit. We actually
Well, Gronk was one of a kind, and certainly Nick was too. They both had great careers.
a number of coaches. I mean, number of players you coached that had
Super Bowls.
NFL, Super Bowl career. I mean, we had Roy Williams on the show. He's fantastic, and then of course we had your brother. Well, two of your brothers, but we had a coach. We had Coach Mark on the show, and we asked him who was the best Stoops athlete, and he said it was you. So he said you had the best career,
At
and it
Iowa.
was you. So
I don't know about that. We all had Bob was the best basketball. Mark, it's kind of funny. Mark was the best baseball player, and maybe I was the best football player. I don't know. Bob was pretty good as well. But what matters now is I could beat them all in golf. So that's the most important thing.
Oh,
that might have contributed to the answer a little bit as well.
I think it did.
A little bit of spite in there.
Yeah, exactly. And now he probably gets to see that golf game a little bit more. I mean, in the off season, which whatever the off season is in college football, I don't know what it is anymore.
We'll hit the lake club in Youngstown.
Getting back to the all that it's going to get crazy. The amount of money that some of these kids get, I think we're doing an injustice to these kids. They're going to have money that they've never seen before. And they're going to make more money than they'll ever make probably in the NFL, a lot of them. So, I don't know if we're doing them any favors, but it's really hard to believe the road we're going down right now. But I'm happy that they're getting some kind of. I just feel like there should have been a better way to do this.
We agree. I think they let the cat out of the bag and they didn't know what they were doing. It was just the whole wording with everything. It's
opened Pandora's box, and now it's
they really did
scrambling to see. I mean, all the different avenues it's taking.
And I'd argue each year, I kind of during the season, like the portal season and NIL and transfers, like it's got to calm down a little bit. But I think we're experiencing now that it's crazier
at
than
the
ever.
Peak right now. It's at
the peak,
height,
and it's still climbing a little bit as well. I don't know. I mean,
the key is going to find the right kids for your program that fit your culture. And I think that's important. You bring in people and pay, a certain amount of money can destroy your team and from within. And I've seen it happen. So you have to be smart in where you spend and spend it on the right people. And then, value your players that you have there now. And they won't walk. They'll be loyal to you. And that's what we try to do within our program.
I mean, you got, teams now that are hiring, like almost like front office general managers, kind of changing the landscape of the staff, so that they, coaches can focus on what's important, which is, your players performing, and then they can handle more so all of these things that you guys really shouldn't have to worry about. What are your thoughts on that? It's good. It's just kind of
it's pro sports now. I mean, we're paying all our players some a substantial amount of money. So I don't know how this is college. I mean, why isn't it pro football? I mean, why isn't it pro football? It's pay for play now. I don't understand what the NCAA, how they position themselves, because, everybody's getting paid. So there are contracts involved now. So it's going to be interesting to see where this all ends up, because I don't know if it's sustainable to do it like this. I don't think, I think there's going to be repercussions from all this. I think down the road, kids are, it's gonna hurt some kids, just because, of the amount of money that, we're putting in front of them right now.
I know.
Hopefully they save it and invest it.
Yeah.
Let's not be naive here. I don't know. Hopefully, if they have a good advisor, but
yeah, you got to hope that they have financial advisors and things like that.
Well, we do financial literacy for all our players, and it's part of the education I think you have to do for them now, for sure. And understanding tax laws, and you're getting taxed on all this money. I think sometimes they forget that they got to pay taxes on it. So. Again, it's something that is drastically different than anything we grew up in that world. So you got to adjust and do the best you can.
Yeah, back in the day, like when we got to OU, like you sit down your whole recruiting class and meet with compliance, and they'd tell you what not to post on Instagram, what not to tweet, all these things. Now it's sitting you down and reminding you that you have to pay taxes, like on all this money that you just got offered, which is honestly,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players are making way more money than their coaches at the college level, which is kind of crazy when you really think about it. So
it's got to
I
be
don't know.
It's got to be a rude awakening for a player, who's had a fine college career that might not make it in the pros, and they come back. They're going to take a quality control, a graduate assistant position. They're like, wow, I'm making less than I'm working way more, and I'm making a lot less than I was playing. But it is what it is.
You certainly know how hard it is to make it in the NFL, and these guys are getting paid way more money than they'll if they don't make it, or even on the practice squad, they won't make that amount of money. So again, their education is what they hopefully all leave with a degree, and that's something that's very important to all coaches, that kids have an opportunity after football to be able to sustain a livable life, and for them and their families. So you have to be smart, and you still have to be diligent, and what you emphasize with these players on a day-to-day basis, and develop a strong relationship with your players, so they trust you and believe in you, and you try to not tell them everything they want to hear, but things they need to hear. And I think the smart and the good ones do. And again, they'll excel still. So it's just different.
Yeah, I think that's something that my dad and Coach Venables did, in their head coaching stints here at OU, is like, the life after football aspect and the getting your degree. What was it like, coaching with, each of them here? You've had a lot of success with both of them, here at Oklahoma.
Well, certainly with, Brent, we had a very close relationship for, I don't know, 5 years, and then it goes back to Kansas State. Mm-hmm. So it was fun working with him. We were both, young. He was a lot younger, Brent's probably maybe 10 years younger than me, maybe 8 to 10, somewhere in there. But it was fun. We had a blast coaching there. We, weren't probably as smart as we are now, but we came up with some plans that were successful. I think the fun part, as we got better, coaching great players has always been fun to do, and coach great young players, I think, is what really motivates you, every time you go to work. And I think Brent has continued that. His enthusiasm has been, he's relentless. His work ethic. He would go out and run 5 miles. He'd try to get me to go run at lunchtime, and I could never keep up with them. So I had to take a shortcut. A lot of times I'd be in about 30 minutes before him. But it was all my experiences with Brent are nothing but, fun. Julie, his wife, his kids, they've all been special people, I think, to all of us. And, I certainly pray for Julie and Brent. I know it's been extremely difficult, for them and their family, but Brent has handled everything that's come his way, like a champ. And, they're not far off. That's the crazy part. And then working with Bob, I think there's always pressure working with family. I think, Mark, there was pressure when you just feel it for them. There's always a lot. There's a lot of great times, but there's still a lot of pressure regardless, whether it was Mark working for me working for Mark, or now I'm working for Mark and Mark working for me. So there's still a lot of pressure that goes with that, because, people look at you differently, and, you better produce, or, you're going to get it. And then, at the end, it finally caught up to me, but, I have nothing but great memories, my whole time that I spent at Oklahoma, whether it was with Bob or certainly with Lincoln.
No, I know. I always say, for the people who listen, I actually spent a couple years coaching under you as a student coach position. We had a great time. We had a great time in the old.
Hey, I'm a lot mellower now, Joe, than I used to be.
Hey, all I'll just say is, Brent Cardwell, the video guy, he was the head video guy. We had to make sure we had a lot of XOs remotes. No, we had a lot of XOs remotes. Those things will break.
I still press hard on those buttons.
Oh, I know. We'd wear them out, the back and forth in the film room.
I know you got to go here
Yeah.
soon, Uncle Mike. Before we let you go, who's your pick to win the Heisman this weekend?
Oh man, I got to go with Hunter. I think he's the best player in college football. I think what he's done to be able to play at that level on both sides of the ball in one of the Power Five conferences, I think that speaks volumes of him as a player and as a competitor. I think the other running back is tremendous too. He certainly has had a historic year. So I bet it'll come in between those two guys.
Yeah.
No, I think, well, it really is remarkable. Well, Coach Mike, we really appreciate you joining the show. As always, it's great pleasure to talk with you.
Well, it's about time you guys had me on. I spent all that time at Oklahoma, and I was the last. Well, I guess Bob spent more time than me, but you went to Mark before me.
I know. We'll have you back on.
I gave Isaac a lot of grief over that, so
As
he
you
finally
should've.
got me.
Yeah. As you should have.
Yeah, thanks,
All right.
Uncle Mike. All right.
Thanks, we appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay.
For everybody watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps you. And we'll catch you next week with another edition of The Family Business. Remember to keep it in the family.